Am I the asshole for not letting my mother-in-law come over after she destroyed my Millennium Falcon Lego set? I, 38 male, live with my wife, 37 female, and my 7-year-old son. I work as an engineer, and my wife is a senior supervisor at a law firm. I've always loved Legos since I was a kid, and sure, it is kind of childish, but it makes me happy, so I've kept it as a consistent hobby throughout my adult life. In 2024, I spent months building the Millennium Falcon with my son. It's me and my son's pride and joy, and I often show guests who come over. My wife doesn't really get the hype, but doesn't mind it either. In early March, my wife's parents came over for a week to spend time with us. As I usually do with guests, I asked them if they would like to see my Lego collection. They agreed, and I showed both her father and mother my Millennium Falcon. Her father was amazed at the time that it took to build my sizable collection, but her mother said that it was a waste of time and that I should focus on being a real man and move up the corporate ladder. I laughed it off because she's pretty old, and I figured she just held very old-fashioned beliefs. We left the room, and nobody really mentioned it for a few hours, but at dinner, her mother said out of nowhere that I should give up on all this Lego nonsense and be a real man. We ignored this and moved on, but you could see in her expression that she was not happy. Nobody said anything about it for the rest of their stay, and all seemed well the morning they left. They left at 3 a.m. to catch a flight, and we waved them off. I went back to bed, but the next morning awoke to find my Millennium Falcon smashed to pieces with a note from my wife's mother calmly saying that this was for my own good so that I can be a real man and focus on what matters. It turns out she had quietly destroyed it in the night and left in the morning. Me, and especially my son, were very upset. I called her in the morning, but she refused to apologize. I said that until she apologized, they would not be coming back. My wife is not happy with my decision on this matter, and honestly, I'm starting to wonder if I overreacted. Did I go overboard, or am I in the right? In the comments, HistoryChick99 says, "She ruined something you and your son did together. Regardless of her feelings about you, she actively did something that hurt her grandchild. That right there is grounds to not allow her in your home or have a relationship with your child. Your wife needs to think of how disrespected you were as an entire family unit. If she doesn't back you up with this, then you have some serious issues. Good luck, dude. Not the asshole." The wife let her mother tell him that he wasn't a real man at dinner, likely in front of their child, and said nothing. I would rethink my relationship if I were OP. Yeah, I don't often get on the divorce bandwagon, and I'm not now, but geez, oh. You're supposed to support and look after one another. Why on earth would OP's wife allow this behavior? Unless she secretly agrees with her mother. Respecting someone else's property is common decency. You and your son invested time and interest in a hobby that brings you joy. That is just as, if not more, important as increasing your earning potential. When your son is an adult, he will retain memories of the time that you spent together. Remember guys, the only ones that remember you doing overtime in 20 years are your family members that didn't get to spend that time with you. Let grandma know that she just ruined her image of herself to your grandson for the rest of his life. When I was 6, my grandmother threw away one of my Hot Wheels sets because I'm a girl, and girls have no business collecting toy cars. I still think of her as bitch granny, and she's been dead for almost 20 years. That set takes 18 hours to build or more. It's a gigantic set. I'd ban that shithead too. What an absolute shithead. Couldn't possibly say it better. Shithead just earned a lifetime ban. Maybe she can figure out what it means to be a real woman. Also, wife can kick rocks. This was something he did with their son. If nothing else, it was a memorable father-son bonding experience that mother-in-law just shit all over. Not the asshole. Right? She didn't just do this to OP, but to a kid. A kid she, in theory, loves. Unhinged, lunatic behavior. Unforgivable. I'm sorry guys, but I stand with the Reddit comment community on this one. I know that might be a hot take or something in this 2025 landscape that we're in, but I think they were speaking facts and logic in the comments section today. That's all I'm saying. Yes, Grandma targeted OP directly, but she really targeted everyone in that household with her behavior, whether they want to recognize that or not. And I'm sure their child does see this as an affront on him and his father, obviously, but Grandma really just said, I hate you, and I hate your dad, and you guys don't deserve to have fun and loving times together. Because your dad, being a child with his child, ew, absolutely unmanly behavior. He should be hitting and punishing his child like me when I was a child. That sounds so much better. Chucking a pigskin round the backyard, alcoholism and hitting your kids. Now that is manly behavior. We should go back to that. He should be doing that. He should not be building Lego sets. He should be hitting his son. Now that is manly. Emotional neglect and physical abuse, guys. It is so hot right now in 2025, I'm telling you. Seriously. Ban her from the house. Ban her from the kid's life. I don't even care if she apologizes at this point. For me, that's unforgivable. Grandma doesn't get to have a relationship with this child anymore. Grandpa can, as long as he doesn't infringe on our boundaries that we're now going to set up from this point forward. But this is an irredeemable action to me. And I know a lot of people will guffaw and be like, oh, what? Oh, this is all it takes to not have a relationship with a grandma? I don't want that energy around my kids. Obviously, talk this through with the wife and ask wife, hey wife, why did you not back me up? Why did you not take it upon yourself to knock Granny down a peg and stop her talking shit non-stop while I was just trying to keep the peace? What's up with that? You have a stronger connection with her. You are the one that is supposed to put her in line, and you didn't. Like the commenter said, what does this say about their relationship? Because that does not look like a ship that's going to stay afloat very long if she continues this enabling. That's all I'm saying. Love to know what you guys think about that, but hey, that's my rant. That's what I gotta say. And now, on to the update. First off, I want to thank everyone for the outpouring of support. It's been wonderful, and seeing everyone's advice has helped me realize a few things. I had a good long talk with my wife to attempt to resolve this situation, and we've again called the mother-in-law, which I hoped would diffuse the situation and bring things back down to earth. Instead, tensions have seemed to only have escalated. For anyone who didn't see the original post, my wife's parents came to visit for a week, in which things went relatively smoothly, aside from some disparaging comments about my Lego collection from my mother-in-law, but after they left in the night, we discovered the Millennium Falcon destroyed, with a note from my mother-in-law saying that she did this so that I can move on and be a real man. Firstly, after lunch, my wife and I discussed the situation adult to adult. I expressed my feelings of her not being behind me in this, and she admitted to having harbored feelings against my Lego collection. She also admitted to secretly agreeing partially with my mother. She doesn't think that my mother-in-law should have gone as far as she did, but according to my wife, I need to move on. I feel hurt by this since it's been my lifelong hobby, and being an engineer, I take great joy in building various creations with Legos. After that, my wife and I certainly were not in agreement, but we were at least on the same page. We also both wanted to resolve things with my mother-in-law, and so that day we called her mother, and things did not go well to say the least. I simply told her that I was sorry that I had to not let her come back, and I hope that things can be resolved quickly. Still feeling upset about the Lego Millennium Falcon, I said that all I asked of her was an apology. She refused, saying that if she bends for me at all, I would never let go of my Lego obsession. My wife is not happy with any of this, and frankly, the marriage is starting to show tensions, which worries me greatly. She seems to be more distant after all of this. My son has developed a strong disliking of the mother-in-law, and I really can't blame him. She's been getting a little crazy and seems to only talk about Trump these days. Should we start considering a senior home for her? That's crazy. So that's the update. Things are getting even worse, and I'm not sure if I can salvage this situation. I'll update everyone when new developments occur. In the comments, Baby Toe Salami says, seems like some deeper issues here than Legos. My guess would be that your mother-in-law's actions and words are based on things that your wife has said to her. Mother-in-law went off the rails, but your wife likely lit this fuse. I agree. I think the wife is more complicit than OP thinks. I would even be shocked if the wife asked her mum to do that. Even if she didn't do that, wife is clearly complaining a lot to her mother about this. I recommend marriage counseling stat. The other piece of this is the son now disliking grandma, who destroyed the project that son and dad had worked on and bonded over. If mum agrees with grandma that it was warranted, how long before the son pulls away from his mother? Pootie Tang says, how effing stupid. The wife has no place telling him what hobbies he can or can't do, unless it's affecting their finances or getting in OP's way of fulfilling adult responsibilities. I couldn't imagine if my wife tried to take from me the one thing that reconnects me to my inner child or to my son. Honestly, that's breakup material for me. Your wife having harbored feelings towards something that brings you joy is a red flag, especially since you built it with your son. Your wife and mother-in-law are in the wrong, and don't think differently for a second. You did nothing wrong. If your wife can't see the issue with this situation, then you should reevaluate this relationship. I really do think the wife has been complaining to the mother-in-law about the Lego collection. My husband doesn't complain about my art supplies obsession. I don't complain about his camping equipment obsession. Mother-in-law sounds like a dreary old cow. Honestly, if we repeat something enough times, it's going to be true. So I think we've boxed this one out, and it's safe to say that this relationship is over. Divorce is on the way, guys. We've solved the case. Honestly, though, it does sound like OP's wife resents him for finding joy in Lego. That's another thing that we're going to add to the list of things that give women the ick. Finding childlike joy with your son in Lego collections. Guys, 2025, tick it off the list. Don't do that. Your significant other will not like you anymore. It's sad that it had to come to this, and it took mother-in-law coming, and she kind of was the one that broke the camel's back, but, you know, not with a straw, more like a cinder block. She dropped a cinder block on the camel's back, and it showed some necrosis on the inside of the camel, and you're like, damn, how long's this been going on for, huh? Didn't know about all that. I really wouldn't be surprised if the next update to come from this is a divorce is on the way. My wife has been trying to poison my son against me also, and saying that I'm the one that caused this, and everyone in the extended family is texting me, asking me how I could cheat on my wife like this, all over some Lego sets. And who knows what else they're going to throw in there. I wanted to go on a gaycation apparently, and I don't personally see anything wrong with going to Ibiza with my brother and having a gaycation, because what happens there, you know, it doesn't count. I look forward to the next exciting chapter of this story. Keep us posted, OP, and good luck. Our next post is by user ZacharyDaiquiri69420, and it's titled, "Today I messed up by not noticing signals and not getting laid when she was literally throwing herself at me." So last weekend, I, 25 male, ended up going out with an older coworker, 34 female, to a bar. We were chatting it up. Everything was great. She was nice enough to let me crash at her place instead of driving home, which I thought was super sweet. Strike number one, OP. What do you mean? Oh, can I come home with you? Yeah. Man, you're awesome for letting me do that. That's a super sick gesture, man. We get to her house, and I asked if I just make a bed on the floor or on the couch, and she said no, that I would sleep with her in the bed. And I thought, oh, okay, sure. Not gonna argue, it's her house. Oh no, OP. As I go inside her room, I check my phone for one singular second, and now she's changed from her work clothes to pajamas. Shirts and shorts, nothing crazy. I asked if I needed to give her the room, and she said, nah, it's fine. So I figured she's just super comfortable around me. We then sit on her bed, drinking and smoking a little, and then she puts on a movie on her phone and we were listening to it, and then we went to bed. No big deal, right? Then the next morning, everything seemed fine. I drove her to work, and we also grabbed McDonald's, wished her a good shift, and then drove home and changed and went back to work. Fast forward to tonight, I tell a confidant of mine at work about the ordeal. They flipped the hell out when I said no after they asked if we had sex. She said she put all the signs in my lap, and yet I still did not read the room. The more I thought about it, the more now effing embarrassed that I am that I was so oblivious to all the signs. I'm now balled up in a corner about to get higher than giraffe. Whoa, haven't heard that one. So I can try to forget this whole embarrassing ordeal. I'm now literally at the mercy of when I see her again. God only knows when, due to the schedule being iffy. I don't have any of her socials, no phone number, nothing. I could literally die right now. In the comments, Spinny Up says, "It's fine, bro. If she was down just the other day, she would have more than likely still wanted to sleep with you if you made some advances in the coming days. The only thing that may change her mind is that you're co-workers, and it's typically not a great idea to sleep with somebody that you see at work every day. She may have decided that it was a bullet dodged, and you missed your shot. Maybe not though. You would have to pursue further to find out." Speaking from experience, work relationships that slow burn are so much better than having a one-night stand with your coworker. It's usually not a good idea, but if it's not against company policy, you work in different departments, and you barely interact with each other, it can work out okay. The trick is to act completely professional at work, which honestly isn't hard. My work basically had a "don't let it interfere with work" and "one no means no" rule. Maybe you missed, but it's still possible that she would have been infuriated if you acted on the signals. She didn't touch you, not change topics to something hot. She just shared a bed with you. It doesn't always mean that she wanted sex. Also, as mentioned above, you were co-workers. If you misread signals and she's pissed, you might be fired. Yeah, exactly. Is she into you? In this scenario, you can't really be too sure. It's good to keep looking for signals. Yeah, look, I know I laughed and everything because it seemed like the obvious signal coming from her. But yeah, unless it's 100% a signal and she gives you that energy back, I'd rather be safe than sorry too. I see no reason to risk that when the consequences of making the wrong choice are so much worse than just not doing anything and letting it fizzle out. You know, one wrong move and a lot of bad could happen. So I don't think you particularly messed up in this situation. I think she's either bad at giving further signals that she wanted to do something, or she wasn't interested. Either way, doesn't seem like a you problem. And now, on to the update. Hi guys. A while back, I, 25 male, posted about how I took this girl from work to the bar with me, and she invited me back to her house, and we both slept in her bed. But didn't end in sex because I couldn't read the signals that she was putting out there. This is an update. So about a week afterwards, I finally asked her if I missed something that she was putting out there. She said, "No, I just didn't feel like figuring out an alternative sleeping arrangement," and left it at that. I figured, okay, that's fine. The woman and I are both very weird. I'm pretty sure that I'm undiagnosed autistic personally, so I left the subject alone going forward. Fast forward to last weekend, she texts me asking if I want to go to the bar again. I say yes, and she even asked to pick her up this time from her house. Made jokes to myself like, the gods are giving me another chance. But really, I was just excited about drinking. I got to her house. She said, can I wait in her room while she showered, and then came in wearing a bra and pants. Told me to turn around, changed in the same room as me again. After she got ready, we went out, had a great time at the bar, even closed the bar down this time, and then stayed the night at her house. She then had the idea of, let's play dirty charades until 6 a.m., and we did. We had a blast. Didn't advance on her, or get naked or anything dirty, keep in mind. Then we laid down in bed again and went to sleep. I think I may have laid my arm on her while we were both asleep, but it got shrugged off after a while. And then we woke up at about 2 p.m., she walks me out, said that it was fun and we gotta do it again. Then that she would see me at work and closed the door. I don't even know what I'm doing at this point. This is the second time that we slept together, but didn't sleep together. My friends tell me that she's lying about her motives and that I should have made the jump and kissed her. But honestly, that's a scary jump to make. And what if I'm wrong about all of this and she decides to punch me in the face and accuse me of some heinous shit if I take that chance? I think I'm just gonna give up, not gonna lie. I'm not an initiator. I've never been an initiator. All of my actions regarding dating and sex and going out have only been because women would approach me and I would just do whatever they wanted me to do. I don't know. This shit is so confusing. I wish I could just ask her if she was trying to get weaned down and give me a direct yes or no instead of throwing all these signs and then saying things differently. Or I'm wrong about it all once again. In the comments, Just a Commenter says, "If I ask you, did I miss any signals you were putting out, and you say no, the only way you are ever going to be touched by me is after you signed a notarized affidavit stating that you, being of sound and sober mind, want to engage in sexual intercourse with me. Man got told no, story is effing over until she communicates with him." Yep, simple. No gray area. Potentially frustrating, but simple. I've never regretted taking the high road. I have been very horny while traveling it at times, though. She shut down sex during the next date. She shrugged off his arm when they were in bed together. She's playing some kind of weird game. OP should forget about her. If he were to make a move on her and she were not receptive, OP could find himself in a ton of trouble. I agree. This can become a sexual harassment case real quick. I won't lie, that was a really frustrating story because I'm feeling blueballed just like OP is, and there's nothing wrong with that. Everything stayed above board. People took the high road. They were probably horny while doing it, as the commenter said. And these things happen. They are weird. They are not what I expect to read on a Tuesday. But hey, I'm glad it didn't turn into a sexual harassment case. And I think at this point, if OP really wants to pursue things, you just gotta break through the noise. Just ask her straight up, are you interested in me? Sign yes or no on the paper. Do you want to date me? And just ask her. I know he doesn't want to be direct, but she refuses to be direct. And if you see anything with this woman, just ask the question and get a yes or no. I know you've already gotten one, and then this night happened. I feel like that gives you enough ammunition to ask again, and if she says no again and you're not interested, leave it. Like the comments have said, it's a very weird relationship to have with a female coworker. I know maybe it's normal for some people, but from my perspective, it just seems really odd. And if either of you continue this friendship but then get a partner in the future, good luck explaining that to your partner in the future. I don't know what to say about that besides, thank you for that. I don't think you messed up at all, OP, but what an odd series of events to go through. Our next post is by user Jen Buns, and it's titled, "Am I overreacting for thinking my boyfriend is jealous of my dad? My, female 18, boyfriend, male 20, is jealous of my dad, and it's making me rethink everything. My dad raised me alone, and we've always been close. He filled both parenting roles, so we're naturally affectionate, and calling him daddy, he's the only one that I've ever called that, has never been weird to me. My boyfriend met him a few months ago and immediately started acting off. He said it was wrong for me to wear a bikini around my dad at the beach. He gives me weird looks when I call him daddy, and last night, he literally left after seeing me cuddle next to my dad on the couch while we were watching a movie. I was just latching onto his side and he had one arm around me. Lately, I've been holding back with my dad just to avoid upsetting him, and that's not okay. There's nothing inappropriate about our bond, but the way my boyfriend keeps sexualizing it, that is what's gross. And honestly, I'm starting to rethink this relationship. Am I overreacting? Here's a text exchange. I don't understand why you're ignoring me. Pick up, babe. He says, can I be honest? And she says, okay. It's about your dad. The way you are around him, it's just weird, you know? Eh? What do you mean weird? You're too affectionate with your dad. It's weird. How is being affectionate weird? What's wrong with you? Seriously, you're still doing this? You call him daddy. Come on. I've been calling him that since I was a kid. What's wrong with that? You're the one being weird. No, you're just too much with your dad. It makes me uncomfortable. When I left to go grab a drink last night, I came back and you left my spot and you were cuddling him instead. OP says, you're bothered that I'm cuddling my dad? You're jealous of my dad? Are you hearing yourself? This is gross. He says, no, I'm telling you how I feel. It makes me uncomfortable. No one cuddles with their dad at 18. That's gross. OP says, I can't believe you're sexualizing my relationship with my dad. Again. He says, I'm telling you how I feel. Jesus effing Christ. Who wears a bikini in front of their dad? OP says, you're still hung up on that? You're disgusting, seriously. Bye. He says, you're overreacting. Please answer your phone. I'm just telling you this so you don't do this in public. People would feel uncomfortable. I'm sorry I went so far. Please pick up. I'm not used to this, that's all. Sorry. Baby, please try to understand me. I'm not trying to be malicious, just not used to seeing dads like this. In the comments, Sapphic Snake says, I cuddle up to my dad, and I'm turning 20 this year. I remember being 15 and resting my head on his shoulder, cuddled up to his side on the couch when my rabbit died. I did the same thing when my kitten died from parvo. I did the same thing a few weeks ago when we found out my uncle died. It's comforting. That's your dad. We're lucky to have loving fathers. That's not something everyone gets. Take advantage of it. I'm a dad to 3 daughters, and I would hate to have a guy tell any of my daughters this. My oldest, 27, still sits on my lap sometimes, and I love that. At her wedding, I spun her around like I did when she was a little girl. Ugh, I miss them being little, and they've told me they miss being little too. There's something special about that relationship. Don't let him sour it. And if I can add, this trust and love is why anyone that takes advantage of a child should immediately be put to death. Bad Wolf says, this is a huge red flag in my opinion. There is nothing weird about wearing a bikini to the beach or being affectionate with your parents. Some people literally kiss their kids and family on the lips. Him having a problem with this is exactly that. A him problem, and he needs to handle his own shit before he tries having healthy relationships. Don't take this on as your problem or project. Underdark Mouse says, I'm 32. I call my dad daddy sometimes. I've called him that my whole life. My ex didn't like it either. He was 38. I've never called a man daddy in a sexual way. I think it's normal, and how he's talking about you wearing a bikini in front of your dad? What the hell? That's also normal. Never change a healthy relationship to accommodate an unhealthy one. You know why these guys don't like it? Porn brain. Imagine there was a life and time before the porn of today where kids called their fathers daddy and it wasn't sexualized. The fact that these dudes think that daddy is a sexual word first and foremost is insane. OP, leave him. If he's jealous of your father, he'll make your life a living hell. Any and every guy is a sexual competitor to him. He's nasty as hell. I tend to agree, it does kind of strike me as porn brain in this instance, but I really do think it is a matter of perspective as well. These people in this story are 18 and 20 years old. I can't expect them to have all the answers. They have not lived a full and varied life where they have seen things from other people's perspectives. They have seen how other people can be so accepting of things that they themselves in their limited life experience recoil at and say, that is weird. That is not my normal. This is abnormal. In many ways, this is very much a cultural shock. And I see where the reaction is coming from. I think he overreacted by phrasing it like he did and somewhat shaming you and putting you down for it, for just having a normal, from your perspective, a normal relationship with your father. And in many respects, a healthy and loving relationship with your father. That yes, as the commenter pointed out, a lot of people don't get the opportunity to have. And it sounds to me like he has not seen examples of healthy and loving relationships like this. I don't think you're overreacting, OP. I just think that you guys are young and you're going to react to things the way you do. And now, on to the update. So, this is an update. Feel free to check out my first post on my page. I didn't expect it to get so much attention. Thank you to everyone who shared support and their own stories. It truly meant a lot. Yesterday, I spoke to him on the phone. At first, he was trying to sweet-talk me, but he kept saying it's uncomfortable, how close I am to my dad, and told me I should distance myself. He called me a daddy's girl in a way that made me feel embarrassed and said that it's strange I still rely on my dad. I didn't know what to say. It just made me upset that he keeps doing this. My dad is my only family. He raised me alone after my mum died when I was a baby. He's my rock and best friend. I ended up hanging up because it felt like he couldn't understand how important my dad is to me. Also, for context, this is my first boyfriend, and we've been together for 6 months. Lately, he's been pulling faces when I call my dad daddy and acting uncomfortable when we hug. He calls me needy when I ask my dad to drive me, even though I can't drive yet, and am still waiting for my practical test. He expects me to either rely on him or use public transport. He's also made comments about my allowance, telling me that I should get a job or stop relying on my dad, even though my dad is simply supporting me while I focus on my studies. It's gotten so bad that he said that it's wrong for me to wear a bikini around my dad at the beach. I found myself pulling away from my dad, calling him just dad, even though it feels weird to me to just make my boyfriend more comfortable. I even felt guilty being affectionate with my own father, like I was holding back who I really am. The other night, while we were watching a movie, I felt cold and instinctively shifted a little closer to my dad, who put his arm around me like he's always done. When my boyfriend came back into the room, I was about to move back, but before I could, he grabbed his phone and left. He ignored me for the rest of the night and the next morning. For extra context, his parents are kind and sweet, but they spoil him a lot. He's their pride and joy. Some people thought maybe he lacked a father figure, but his dad is very much in his life. They go hiking and play sports together. They also enable him a lot. He's honestly nice to me about everything else, just not when it comes to my dad. Anyway, this is the update. Thank you again for all the support. He says, please pick up. I wasn't trying to offend you. She says, honestly, I'm exhausted that we're going around in circles. He says, these are my boundaries. That's all. If you respect them, we can be the happy couple that we've always been. And OP says, it makes me really sad that you see my love for my dad as a bad thing. I never thought that I'd have to explain something so normal. This is tiring. Listen, I'll keep it simple. If you cannot stand me being around my dad, or even being close with him, this is not going to work. It is my deal breaker. And he says, well, it's a deal breaker for me. That shit's weird, and I don't like it. And OP says, I don't want to change anymore. And he says, don't call him daddy. That's disgusting. OP says, you know what's disgusting? You being jealous of my old man. And he says, he's not old. He's 46. Guy looks like Anthony Starr actor. It's funny how you're downplaying it. All of your girlfriends find him attractive. OP says, I don't want to imagine what you're implying. I don't even know how to respond to that. All of this is gross. Get help. And he says, I don't need help. And OP says, and 46 is old. And yeah, this is definitely over. And he says, well, I can't be with someone who thinks it's okay to be treated like a princess at 18. Grow the hell up. It's embarrassing. I told you how I felt, and you disrespected my boundaries. I'm the only one that you should be affectionate with, but you can't help yourself. And OP says, you're trying to cut me off from my only family member because you feel uncomfortable that I'm an affectionate person. You grow up. Lol, bye. And he says, well, I tried to communicate, but whatever. It's done. In the comments, Angel the Geek says, I'm a dad of 2 girls and 1 boy. I'm shocked with what I just read, and I would definitely lose my shit if my daughters ever changed with me. Recently, one of my girls left the boy that she was with because he told her something a little similar and she was turned off by it. He stated something along the lines of, "Well, I'm your new man and he no longer needs to worry about you." I will always worry about my kids, each and every day. I don't care who they are with and if said person thinks they're doing everything to protect them. I'm always going to be there for my kids. I'm always going to be dad, and they will always be daddy's little girls, and they know that. Sorry, I just got really passionate about this. You need to break up with him. This will only cause more problems later in the future, and the change your family is going to see in you is going to turn to hate for your significant other. But don't worry, you'll find someone who's going to see who you are with your dad and truly appreciate it, because he knows he'll always have to share you with your dad. And OP says, "Thank you for your response, and I broke up with him. He's blocked. No one's going to pull me away from my daddy. I apologized to my father and told him everything. He was fuming. I should have ended it months ago. I was naive, but never again." Banana Girl 2689 says, "I'm so glad at this young age you're learning what not to accept in a relationship. Don't ever open the door for him again, and find someone who does treat you like a princess. I'm 36, and my fiancé gives me queen treatment. You deserve nothing less." And that's where I'm going to end today's episode, guys. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.